Reporting it. We're doing it. This was bad. This was bad.
Yes.
We lost all our momentum. What happened?
You know what,
Well, you
John?
lost your starters too.
Yeah. There's only so many times you can go to that second well and actually get something that works. I mean, think about it. This was, I think, like the sixth or seventh time in like their last 6 or 7 games where they trailed in the fourth quarter, and usually they found a way to win. Well, ultimately, it's going to catch up with you.
Yeah, when you're in crunch time and it's Tremont Waters, Romeo Langford, Grant Williams, Tristan, and Tatum, the likes of them, it's not going to be a good night against many teams. And the Bulls, they faded fast this year since that trade deadline. They were declared winners there, but they still have enough offense to get this done. And the Celtics didn't tonight. I thought that was what killed them. Turnovers, biggest of all. You were pointing them out down the stretch, John. Tatum sloppiness with the ball.
Tatum had
Everybody's frankly in that fourth quarter undermined them so badly. And Chicago got sloppy too. That's what allowed the Celtics back in it. But overall ball control continues to be a problem for this team, particularly when Kemba Walker doesn't play. He had been a big part of turning that around this month. So they missed them a lot tonight. They've outscored opponents by, I think, 12 points per 100 with him on the floor this month. So he's been critical to everything they've been doing, and they missed him a ton.
Let's just spend the rest of the time bashing Grant Williams. I'm just kidding.
I didn't think he was.
I'm just kidding. We're not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm not. It's just. It's hilarious that the chat is already filled with Grant sucks.
Yeah, I was getting that in my mentions too.
It's no joke. It's 90% Grant Williams right now. Look, this is what happens. You're out 3 starters. You know, you hate to make excuses, but they're out 3 freaking starters.
And that's the show.
And both of their point guards, like. You know, Pritchard. You know where they lost this game in that third quarter. I mean, it was a real crap first half to begin with, but they could have. You know, what are you going to do there with that second unit? That second unit offense. Holy wow! You know, like they were like, you take it. No, you take it. You know, but then in the third quarter, when your starters got beat, that was the problem because you knew you had to get into your bench. They actually got a spark off that bench. Tremont played his best game in ever. You know, with some of the stuff that he did and his energy and his defense. Romeo was outstanding on the defensive end. Great defense all night. He finished once. Again, that 3-pointer's not there. If he's going to be there in the wing, he's got to be able to knock those down with some regularity. That's got to
Jabari again.
Yeah. So they
8 points, 60 minutes. Yeah.
But that third, it's just having an off Tatum night. I know he finished with the triple-double. But that just they needed like big flex starter games tonight, and they didn't get it. You know, from those guys, you can't have Tatum have this much of an off night when you've got this many guys out and expect to win. It was 3 for 17. I mean, Jesus, he goes 5 for 17 and they win the game. I mean, that's just brutal. Obviously, Jaylen did have it going. He just wasn't involved enough again. It feel like, I mean, how many points down the stretch there in the fourth quarter was Jaylen not getting the ball in his hands? A lot, but Tatum just had a rough game. Tatum plays even a little bit better, and they probably pull this one out.
Yeah, and Tatum was actually due to have an off night like this. I mean, when you look at just the way that he has been playing, not just really good, but exceptionally good, like top 5 NBA player good of late. So for him to have an off night, no surprise there. And Jaylen Brown, again, another night where you end the night thinking what could have been. He made his first 6 shots. He was in a great flow, great rhythm. And then once again, there were those lulls where the ball just didn't find him. And I don't think that's so much on Jaylen. To me, it's just recognition of who's got it going and who doesn't. I think Tatum realized that I just don't have it tonight. I can't make shots, so I got to do other things to help. And he did that, rebounding and assists. So I have no issues with his play because he found other ways to contribute.
He was cold. No. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
You know what was my biggest disappointment? My biggest disappointment was Pritchard. I thought he looked lost again with the starters. I know he hit some shots, but out of place defensively. Brad was getting on him like crazy a couple of times for positioning on both ends of the floor. It worries me that he's looked really good this year to some degree, but when he jumps up to that starting line, it's a massive fall off a cliff from him, it feels like. And again, that final shooting line looked good, But just watching him throughout this game, it didn't look like he was in the flow of things all that well, the way he needed to be offensively. And you know what stuck out most to me is the amount of times when he was running the offense that they weren't able to get the ball to Tatum and Brown. Like him, Semi, Romeo in particular were black holes in this game.
Yeah, I mean Romeo again in that critical possession late, he had those two where I mean,
he missed the open shot and then he missed the follow up. Yeah,
and he was short on the follow. But again, the ball not to touch Tatum or Brown's hands. Again, it's just I hate going back to coaching on that one, but again, roles, okay? If you're wide open like Romeo was, I guess it's okay to take the three there. I'd still rather early in the clock work that around to somebody else, but you cannot have a possession where Tatum and Brown don't touch the ball late in the game. You can't have it. I mean, you just can't have it. And they had a couple of them, and that's just perplexing to me. And I know Tatum was ice cold, but like Romeo's not out there to score late in that game. He's not. If he grabs an offensive board or he gets – he backdoors somebody or something and you can get an easy shot. Absolutely. But he's not there to look for offense. So just perplexing, down the stretch, they really never got into their offense at all. You're right. Pritchard, it felt like they never got into their offense at any point in time in the night.
This was a game for all the Kemba haters because when Kemba misses the game, a guy like Jayson Tatum is cold as ice. And you see the final score of this one. These guys could not buy a basket tonight. And this was a game that if Kemba Walker plays, that's less time for Pritchard. That's less shots for Tatum, who certainly couldn't, wasn't on tonight. And maybe they're getting better looks because, listen, when Kemba Walker's out there, he commands a lot more attention than a Pritchard does or, whoever else is, Waters or whoever you want to put in there. So a little bit of a trickle-down effect. I will say I liked that even though Tatum was off, he found other ways to contribute. I mean, triple-double tonight, you don't want to just sniff that away. So credit for that. And I agree. I think even Ainge alluded to the fact that, like, Brown was barely involved. When Brown hit that big three, and I think Ainge even said, like, a guy that wasn't involved recently, and, he comes in there, hits a shot. Pritchard hit a shot right coming off the bench, which I thought was huge for them at the time. I know that, that doesn't make up for the first 3.5 quarters, but I did like the way Pritchard sort of stepped up late in that game there. And it was just too little too late. We can't forget that the Celtics were without two of their starters. So obviously the score 3, sorry, Rob, too. So yeah, I mean, that's huge.
And Fournier, 4 of their top 6 players.
And Fournier, exactly. So
I mean, it's really hard. That's a huge hill to climb.
You can only really criticize them to a point without being like, well, I guess technically, like, this shouldn't be that big of a surprise.
That's what I mean. They were Jayson Tatum having just not miserable, just a bad shooting night away from winning. Like, again, 3 for 17, he goes 5 for 17 or 6 for 17, which is still a terrible shooting night, and they win. So it is hard to get really mad about it. But real quick, Bobby, did you do a video tonight on our YouTube channel saying that the Celtics might have won the Daniel Theis trade?
No, I didn't say they might have won.
But I feel like you did because I feel like that's what the title says, and I just wanted to check.
What? Delete that video right now.
Delete.
My point was it felt like going into that trade, they got nothing, but they got something of use. And again, that first quarter run for Luke was awesome. I thought he contested shots. He got that bucket inside, and they never went back to him. He actually had some positive minutes there against Chicago's bench unit, and they got away from him, which I was bummed about.
Theis revenge.
I will put my Luke Cornett slander on the top shelf for now because he did way more positive things than I've seen him do. That dunk he had on Markin, oh my gosh!
Yeah,
I mean, that was like a legit NBA power dunk.
It's like Brad just wants to flash him, just show a tiny little bit for the world to see, and then he just pulls him back because the world can't handle Luke
because
Cornett,
he knows that flash is all. That's all you're gonna get. That's all you're gonna get. Give me the flash. Get back on the bench. We're good.
Again, that was my point. That was the point of my video. The fact that they got something made me feel a little bit better about that because when the trade happened, it felt like they got absolutely nothing between Mo and him. But I think Luke can be a third string contributor for this team and a solid one at that.
Well, usually if you're going to your third string center, that usually means you've got some injuries or inconsistent play. It's usually not good when you got to lean on him.
That's bad.
That's bad. The
When you have
third
a lot
guy
of
is a
time to
good practice
assess,
guy.
when you have a lot of time to assess your third string center and your fifth point guard, that's bad. You know,
The fifth
when,
point
when
guard.
we're assessing Tremont Waters and Luke Cornett's contributions 8 minutes into a post game show, bad.
This is
Real
all I'll
quick
say
before
about
we keep
Cornette because
going.
I'm not going to get another minute from him for the rest of the show.
Yeah, you are. We're gonna do a lot of Cornette tonight, buddy.
If you can go to him for 10 minutes and get a solid 10 minutes like they did, that's a win. And that's what I keep saying. He's a
I don't know.
he's
if
a
this was
rock
solid
solid bench
10 minutes.
contributor.
I don't know if this was
They
a
were
solid
positive
10
minutes.
I'd go like maybe 3 or 4. I felt really good about.
Yeah.
Which is an upgrade. Which is an upgrade for him because usually if he can give you more than 2, I think you're doing well. I give him 4.
I thought he's been
Two, four.
solid in just about every game he's played in so far. So that he's impressing me, and I want to see it continue here.
Yeah.
Bobby
Okay.
Bobby loves overvaluing like the worst players in the team and then criticizing the best players. Like cough Rob. Cough. That's just what he does. He has to like baby them and coddle them and put on kid gloves when he talks about them.
The
The worst
expectations
players
are
in the team.
lower.
It makes him feel better about himself. Like, oh, well, here's why actually Luke Cornett is the MVP of the team. Let me tell you why. It's like, no,
Remember
moving on.
what Brad said? Brad said we've been eyeing this guy for a long time. We've had our eyes on him, and
Yeah,
then went on
Brad-
they got.
And that was
says a
why
lot
it
of
took
things.
them damn near this long to get him because they're watching him and they're like,
What's
Yeah,
funny
they
is
just couldn't get him.
anyway, as we were saying,
the Fournier trade was literally just a big elaborate setup to get Cornette. It had nothing to do with Fournier. The long play was getting Cornette in here, and he did. And kudos to Danny for that. I do want to mention to people again.
I didn't hear enough
we are-
Cornette commentary from Danny in the booth tonight.
I do want 2 things we need to mention. Locker room. Okay, it's happening. You see the little fancy scroll we have at the bottom. Join us. Download Locker Room on the App Store. It's where to be. It's where to be after, not just after the game. This is where to be after the game. Locker Room is where to be after this, the after party. So we got to do that. Go to the iOS store, download it, join us there. We're going to do what we always do, which is go hang out, listen to you guys, get you talking a little bit. You guys get to ask us questions. It's a ton of fun. We had a big, massive turnout Saturday, both for the post-game show and for Locker Room. So everybody's welcome. We'll try to get to as many people as we can. The more of you in there, the longer we'll hang because we want to hear from as many of you as possible. So come join us after Locker Room OT. Guys, other stuff on this game. Anything else stand out to you here?
Are we running a ticker? We got a
Yeah,
ticker?
we just did.
Well,
What do you think of that?
wake up, Jimmy.
Look at that.
What do you think of that?
Wake up,
Plexiglass?
Jimmy.
Yeah,
It's pretty good.
pretty good, right?
Jimmy John
Pretty good.
podcast down there.
Jimmy John podcast in development.
I-
That's on the ticker.
It's somewhere buried on the ticker.
Yeah.
My only other thought out of this
Man, the
game
kicker.
is Thad Young. That was a guy we talked a lot about
Your guy.
early in
Yeah.
the season. He's a nice contributor still this deep into his career, and definitely looks like he could have helped some other teams. I don't know where Chicago's going to go from here in terms of playoff. They're right there with Toronto at that 10 seed. And since that deadline, all their lineups have been losers, whether it's Vucevic, Levine, anybody they put out there, they've been losing like crazy. But Thad Young's the guy who settles it down for them in those bench units. They dominate his minutes, and they did it again tonight. He was a nice playmaker. I thought he might have been the best all-around player on the floor tonight. And that was a guy a lot of people in
And
the
Thad
Celtics
Young,
world dreamt
a
of.
guy that you didn't want. Guy that you didn't
No,
want.
he's
when we
impressed
brought
me
him
as a
up
bench guy
target.
so far. Now, Vucevic, of course, did all their scoring, certainly. But Thad
Yes.
Young, he came in and locked down defensively, made some plays for other guys, scored inside himself too. I thought he was a nice settler for Chicago. And if they end up missing the playoffs, that's a guy that's a lot of other contenders are going to be like, I wish we could have had him.
We're in the
he's
Thad
put
Young.
himself-
We're in the Thad Young portion of the show already. By the way,
6 of 12,
Wow.
3 assists, 2 steals.
look what
and,
we've done.
+3.
We've checked off all the boxes to lead off the show. Cornette.
If
Thad
Joe Sway was
Young,
here, he'd be very
what else
excited.
we
That was
missed?
really his guy.
All the big names.
I
Where's
love
Joe
it.
Pritchard,
Sway?
Thad Young, Cornette. Yeah,
Tremont
we're good.
Waters.
I guess we can just go over to the locker room app now. Show's over.
Do we want to hit on Draymond?
Yeah, go ahead, Bobby. You go.
Oh, God.
I'm just saying.
I
I
want you to do it. I really want you to.
It felt like he could have been cut. He was
Bobby
that bad
Cam,
on
Draymond
Thursday.
Cam. Go.
Yeah. Thursday was an absolute disaster. He managed to almost blow a 27-point lead with Mo Wagner and the likes out there. Wagner, of course, did not survive the trip. And then he thought Waters wouldn't either. But he comes back here, has the game of his career. Probably won't mean it because hopefully you're not down your fifth-string point guard, as you said again here tonight. But it was nice to see him salvage the moment. 8 minutes, 9 points, couple steals, deflected about 3 or 4 balls. I was blown away. And I heard Sherrod on that final finish in the lane going full court, impressed as well. It's going to be tough to get you guys to say something positive here, but I know Sherrod liked that one.
He just hasn't played. He hasn't played well.
It's not.
To me, there's a difference between guys who are bad players and guys who are playing bad. Draymond, to me, is a good player who's just playing bad. You knew at some point he would have a good, decent game, and he did. But Mo Wagner, I just think he's a bad player.
Yep.
And apparently, so do a lot of teams in the NBA.
He was a
Still
starter.
unsigned.
Mo Wagner was a starter, right?
He started and played 30 minutes and a loss. That had to be Brad Stevens.
No. I mean for Washington.
Oh.
At one point,
Yeah,
I know he did
after
starting, but
went down probably.
yeah, when there was an injury, yeah.
What'd you guys think of Jabari tonight?
What I expected. He got you some points, made some
That
defensive
dunk.
lapses.
Shades of Gordon.
To me, the highlight for me was seeing him deflect not 1 but 2 passes, which means he really is trying to play defense.
Yeah.
I felt good about that. I felt really good about that.
Yeah.
He's just going to be a guy that gets you buckets and hope that he doesn't kill you at the other end of the floor. I think that's best case scenario for him.
I think so. I think he he shouldn't shoot from the outside. He's really got to do all of his work going at the rim and down low. I don't want to see him pull it. I know he did, an open 3, that's fine. It's obviously not his game, but I agree. I want to see him working for buckets down low and at the rim. I think he can do that. And I think he can help.
Especially on a team where you got a bunch of guys who are really good from the perimeter.
Yeah, you don't need that. I think if he does what he's supposed to do, you'll live with the defensive issues. They are bad though, and again, you see guys come over and they he can't play defense, and a lot of times I'm like, that seems to be I always think that's a choice, and I think Brad can get a guy to play defense if they buy in and they get it. I don't think Jabari's ever actually going to be capable of playing decent. I think you're just going to have to live with it.
Yeah, I don't think the buy-in is the issue. I just think
it's
physically
he can't
do it.
And it's so strange. Like
his stance is bad.
Of it.
So
he has the
upright.
affect. He has the affect of a much, much, much older player. He looks like a guy who's
he is essentially.
He has those vibes.
He looks like a guy who's clinging to his last couple of years of NBA action in terms of his physicality.
Even though he's 26.
Wily veteran, but he's 26. He looks like he's 36, 38, and I'm going to sneak out one more year. I don't know if that's a matter of physical conditioning or he's just broke from the knees or whatever. He was but he's really slow and he's kind of right. He's got a YMCA sort of kind of, posture, I don't know.
Yeah. I think that's hairline too. I think you're looking at his hairline and seeing that start to go. And
but he's still
this
useful.
guy looks a lot older than 26. But
yeah.
He is. But here's the other thing. It's conditioning. I mean, this guy literally wasn't in the league when they signed him. But even when he was in the league, he was barely playing. You're talking about literal minutes total for the season, like under 20 or something like that. And then prior to that, he's on teams like the Bulls, the Wizards. I mean, these aren't good organizations to really build something and get something going. And I feel like this guy came in the league, tore his ACL, and never really got his footing after that. And I think that's why, this little relationship here with the Celtics might be the best thing for both sides, because it could maybe snap Parker back into, I'm not going to say back into his high school days, but it might get him back on track to where he was when he was considered a top prospect, So I agree with you. He looks like a guy that hasn't played in a long, long time. It's because he hasn't. So this is all getting his conditioning back and getting into the flow of the offense. And I agree. I mean, you don't really want to see him start chucking threes. You want to see him work for it down low. And I think he does have some moves. And he got up there for a dunk today. He looked a little bit like that Aaron Gordon
Like
2.0
Aaron
for a
Gordon?
second, and when he was flying through the air.
Yeah.
I'm not coming off that just yet.
I love what
love
Joe
that,
Sway
man.
said about imagining him as a 5, and we haven't seen a ton of that yet with him. But I think when they go with wing-heavy lineups and they want to go smaller and faster and more versatile, that'll be the way to go. They can hide him a little bit in the pick and roll with length around him. We've seen them be able to play shorter guys, and he's about Theis's height when you think about it, 6'8". So I think they could play him at 5, get some nice rolling, cutting action,
That's
and
what
he doesn't to play the perimeter at all in that sense.
Brad said it right out of the gate. Like he's a 4-5 here. Like he's a 4 and a small ball 5. This is, again, we talked about closing lineups. Potentially, if you wanted to go small, and we're like, well, who's going to be the small ball center in this group? If you went with Jaylen, Jayson, Marcus, and Kemba, who would be the small ball center? Parker probably, because the other option is Grant. And that makes more sense.
Ainge even said it.
Yeah, and Ainge said it in the broadcast. If that's what you want to go, that's kind of your answer there if you want to do it. And you could go positionless with Fournier in there with that 5, theoretically. And again, they
have options now for sure.
Parker's not a switchable defender, but it's again, everybody's in and around the same size. At that thing, you're going from 6'4" with Marcus, who can absolutely defend up to the, to like a 6'8", 6'9" guy, to 6'7", 6'8", 6'8", 6'10". That's an interesting lineup there. And you wouldn't be stunned to see that from time to time when everybody's healthy, if we ever freaking see it. It's unbelievable with this team. It's just can't get there.
Yeah, down the stretch, you're looking for mismatches. You're trying to find where can you go. And when you've got Jabari at the 5, that's a mismatch automatically against damn near any center in the. Now, can he stop them at the other end? Probably not. But late in the game, how many teams are really looking to their center to get them buckets? I mean, okay, the Sixers, okay. Other than them in the East, teams are more concerned about getting their wing guys going down the stretch. And so technically, you probably can hide him down the stretch in games defensively because teams aren't going to attack him the way they would other positions because their best players are at other positions. So he, like as Bobby mentioned, he gives them a definite option that has the potential to have a positive domino effect for the Celtics when you talk about switching and interchangeable lineups, particularly late stages of games.
Yeah, it could be tough for opposing centers to guard him too, so that almost mitigates that pick and roll switch factor on the defensive side because the other team probably isn't going to have their big out there forcing those switches. So, and again, it's not the end of the world if he has to go out and run to the perimeter. It's not ideal, but he's a wing by position, so he's able to at least be comfortable doing that. Again, I don't see him factoring heavily into what they do come postseason, particularly if they're healthy. You'd almost prefer not to play him at all. But he gives them an option here, particularly if they're down in games where they need to get some more offensively oriented lineups in there, get some bench scoring, let their starters get a little more spell run, perhaps with some leads here. He just gives them the option to do quite a few different things when it comes to where they are at certain points in games here. And the way they've gushed over him has been telling so far. Brad seems thrilled to have him here. Ainge obviously has targeted him for a long time. It is interesting that they had a chance to do this for so long and it's just now, but I'm happy with it. Like there is no risk here whatsoever. And so far it's been nice upside.
None.
Like they've been hesitant to do it in the past was because of the cost involved with a guy who struggles as much as he does defensively. That's why they didn't pull the trigger before. But again, I believe that Jabari Parker is going to win the Celtics at least one playoff game. He's going to be a difference maker in at least one. And to me, think about it. When you get a guy off the scrap heap like they did, who is going to win you at least one playoff game, that's huge. That is a huge, huge benefit for your team. That is getting your money's worth.
Yeah. Grant's going to win you 2, and Jabari wins you 1. That's almost a whole series. right?
So that's the tricky thing here too. When they have Thompson and Rob healthy, there probably won't be center minutes. So you are in that position where Brad has to think, am I going to run Romeo, Parker, Grant? And that honestly is a tricky decision based on who they're playing there. And those minutes will be important. Those decisions will be important come playoff time. Because if he does lean on Grant in those situations, yeah.
I think it'll be just based on what you need. If you need scoring at that position, you go with Jabari. If you need wing defender who can switch out, I think you go with Romeo. And if you need just a solid defender in the post, you go with Grant.
Yeah, I just wish Parker could knock it down a little better from the outside. It is disappointing, just how poor his outside shoot, particularly his 3-point shooting is, because that's something he should be able to do, at least knock down some jumpers. But it's definitely not in his bag. It's amazing. I mean, it's amazing how little is truly in his bag, considering he was a number 2 overall pick. But again, he can score, and he can score in and around the rim. And
He's
right
so
now,
good
it's like Kemba.
your bench guys are supposed to be specialists to a degree. If they were great at everything, they'd be starters. So you have to remove the idea of Jabari Parker, the number 2 overall pick that's supposed to be able to do it all, and just say, hi, Joe Sway.
Joe Sway's in the building.
What's up, buddy?
He made it.
Hey, everybody. We can't hear you at all, Joe Sway.
You there?
Can you hear me now? No, we can't hear you now, Joe Sway.
Let's just look at him. It's just good to have him.
Joe
Isn't it
Sway.
interesting?
Joe Sway, talk.
Let's just ignore him for now. He'll talk when he's ready, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, speaking of Joe Sway.
We'll just
Joe
pretend
Sway.
sleeping Joe Sway.
Speaking of Joe Sway, how about
This year,
Joe Sway's podcast partner, Cedric Maxwell, was more thought the Celtics may should have gone after Sellinger over Parker. What do you guys think of that?
Oh boy, that's a tough one for me because everyone knows I love me some Sully. That's my guy. But
I don't know.
I think Jabari is a bit more. He's a better scorer than Sully, and I think he's both of those guys. I think have different strengths. But the specialist that Jabari is offensive scorer. The specialist that Sullinger is a rebounder. Yeah. I don't know if you necessarily need a guy whose specialty is rebounding over a guy whose specialty is scoring when your bench is the second worst scoring bench in the NBA. So
they have a ton of rebounding too.
Right. And the Celtics have been a pretty good rebounding team. If you really look at the numbers most of the season, they're a much better rebounding team than they are a bench scoring team. So I get why you wanted to add, Jabari instead of Sully. I mean, Sully is killing it over in overseas. He's putting up big numbers, but so does Shavlik Randolph.
Sully still plays basketball?
Yeah,
he's in China.
Shavlik Randolph.
Good for him.
What a name.
Jared Sullinger is going to be the next Chinese star over there.
Really? Good for him.
He's putting up big numbers.
Didn't Yabu get deported? He was in China and he got sent home, right? Was it like
I didn't hear about that.
It might have been like COVID related or something. It was like they started and stopped, and then he was like,
yeah, over there, you don't go in protocol, you go home.
Yeah.
Exactly. You actually automatic self-mute when you mention the Y word.
No, right now he's playing for Asvel, which is in the.
Right. Add Yabusele to the list of topics today.
We got to him. Yeah.
Joe Sway. Anything?
They just beat Bulazak. Yep.
Good luck to Yabu. I never want to see that player in the TD Garden again. But good luck,
Yabu, man.
Surprise his name.
Hey, kill the Yabusele slander, man. Dancing Bears is all right with me. He couldn't help it that they drafted him that high. That wasn't his fault.
You know what, Sherrod? I actually blame you along with the other Celtics reporters for not being hard enough on that guy when he sucked so much and all was like Yabu. I think you guys are the reason he even got that third year. The reason the Celtics are still paying this guy. So I'm blaming this on you.
Wow.
Wow. Blaming
On
me.
you.
Paying
Way to go,
Yabusele.
athlete Jimmy.
Well, does our producer have a Yabusele Chiron or what? I'm just kidding.
I was
A what?
one of those guys who was high on him at one point. I think Yabu's the guy every
Yeah, I'm blaming
Celtics
you too,
writer
Bobby.
is just trying to hide their old articles about, because if you search
Oh my
anybody's
God.
name with Yabu next to it,
Well,
that's an article that writers do not want you
Future
pulling.
Draymond.
I remember actually one moment specifically. We were at NBC and everyone was talking up Yabu, and we hadn't seen him yet, right? Because he was away for the first year, and then he was coming in, and you had all of the
That hurt him too.
You had all of the French Draymond Green stuff and this and that, and then I remember one basketball writer, I forget who, talked about 5 or 6 most exciting people of the rookie class. And in the top 5 were Zizic and Yabu, and that got a little buzz going among Celtics fans because they weren't drafted anywhere near the top 5, but it's like the most intriguing people. Up, Brockton Wi-Fi 1.0 kicking in. The 1G, it's gone. Let's go
Look
back.
at that. That's a nice new addition to the system there.
That was
fitting
that's
graphic.
That was a joke. That's a joke graphic by our producer.
That's amazing.
That's funny.
It's great that Joe Sway was the first one to break it in. But so we're doing a segment. I use this as a launching point for a segment on the show about how, hey, there's people inside the NBA are talking up these guys, Zizic and Yabu as big players. And Mannix was on, and I was telling him about the segment, and I was like, yeah, and we're going to talk about Yabu, and I told him this writer said it, and he looked at me, he goes, oh, Yabu can't play. And I was like, what? And they're like, oh, no, he's terrible. And I was like, what? I was like, what do you mean? I was like, we keep being told that he's good. And they're like, oh, no, he's bad. And he's like, and they know he's bad. And I was like, oh, man. He just burst my bubble completely because I was like, I was ready to buy it. I was like, this is so cool. I can't wait to see him. And he was like, oh, no, Yabu can't play.
Well, he got worse, I heard. In that overseas stash year, that was not good for him from everything I've heard. That's a tough thing where you got to send guys overseas, so you don't know where, you don't have that conversation, that camaraderie with the club that's developing them. That's why they're trying to push the G League the way it is. Who knows what the G League would have done for a guy like him if they were just able to keep him close in their system and develop him a little bit.
That's not true, Bobby.
Yes,
I don't think that would.
Am I working?
Wait,
Am I working?
Joe Sway.
You sound like you've got the anonymous voice modulator going, but sure, go for it.
I just wanted to say, I didn't even know what Bobby was talking about. I just wanted to throw that in there, see if it would go through. I'm going. No
of course.
headphones,
Of course, Josue. We're talking about Gershon Yabusele.
Yeah.
never mind.
Josue, you were at the game. Tell us what happened, man.
Yeah, it's not a combo you want to be in.
Man, the momentum from the Chicago Bulls in that second half and that fourth quarter, even after Draymond went off, still, like, the crowd was still like, are we believing this, guys? And then they got into it, and then the Bulls, the Celtics just never could get over the hump. And the crowd, I'm a little surprised they didn't boo, honestly. Like, there were some parts of this game where I felt that urge, but it never happened. And then it felt like, oh, wow, they're going to lose this game. Everyone just sort of was just sitting there stunned. No one wanted to leave. Jayson Tatum was on the floor talking to Javonte. Javonte's talking to Deuce. Like, the entire Bulls team was gone. Javonte didn't even care. He's just chopping it up with Tatum mid-court alongside Taco Fall. And then they both went their separate ways after that. He said hi to the Tatum family, and then he kept it moving. But to me, the fans were as stunned as the Celtics looked.
Well, you thought they were going to win, right? They tied it at what, 90? I forget when they tied it at one point.
I thought when Draymond's big layup, I thought that was it. I thought that was.
And it was like, all right, here we go.
Get a stop.
Yeah.
Just get a stop. You know.
They took a lead before Vucevic hit that three that gave Chicago the lead for good. I think at 92-89. So that was ultimately the turning point there. Vucevic was really good tonight, and again in Chicago. He hasn't led to winning, but 22 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, 50, 40, 90 shooting. I don't know what's gotten into this guy. This career year he's having at 30.
At 90, that's as close as they got. And then Vucevic hit it 2. And that was it. 92. Yeah, that was it.
You're surprised by that, Bobby? I mean, like, he can do that. He's about that life.
Oh, yeah, this year for sure. And he's done it to them a couple of times, but they were able to beat those Magic teams.
I thought you were surprised by it.
I'm mildly surprised because he was an all-star this year, one of the hottest tickets on the trade market, and he's kept it going. It just hasn't translated to winning for that Chicago team, and Theis hasn't really either, even though he's put up the same production there with the Bulls. Something's just ever since Jordan left the Bulls, I guess it's been cursed there because they cannot put a good season together. And this looks like it would finally be the one.
They missed that Jordan guy, you think?
Yeah.
Maybe they should have tried to keep him a little bit longer.
They just never replaced him, John. It's just tough, It's been a tough 20+ year drought,
Maybe they should try to sign him to a 10-day.
Yeah.
Wow.
They missed that guy.
But even when they had decent teams, though, they found a way. Things just didn't work out. I mean, when you had Derrick Rose, you had Thibodeau. That team was on a rise, and then it just absolutely came literally crashing down, just like
they
that.
should have been the ones to dismantle the big three in Boston. It should have been them. The Celtics lucked out that Rose got injured and they didn't have to run into the Bulls in 2012, and they nearly got back to the finals.
I don't know. I'm not giving Chicago that much credit. I think they would have found another way to screw it up.
They were a tough out. They were a tough team back then, though, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, they never pulled it together fully, and then the injuries just caught up to them for sure.
If Rondo didn't get hurt, who knows?
We're in the mid 2000s Chicago Bulls portion of the show.
There's a Bulls fan smiling from here somewhere. He's excited about this.
This is what happens,
guys. We need to do better.
There's a guy who didn't let go of Michael Jordan. He's watching.
After starters out, this is what you end up talking about.
It is hard. You're right. It's hard to make something of this game because, again, what are you going to get mad about? Tatum had a miserable shooting night, and they're missing 4 of their best 6 players. Like the game was effed. Yeah.
What are we gonna do? Bash them because they lost with 4 of their top 6 guys out? Like, that's stupid. So, all right.
Oh, Tremont, though. I mean, he was one of the few guys that actually played where you're like, okay, he didn't totally suck tonight. I mean, is it a one-game fluke thing? Do you think he can? Go ahead.
I think there's a real chance you could start to see him get minutes here and enter that rotation.
Wait, stop. What?
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
I'm just kidding. I
believed all of that. I was like, listen, Bobby, I don't know. You're pushing it.
I knew
you're this close, pal. Okay.
Yo, you convinced us. John about to blow.
You're this close. All right.
Bobby was about to jump. You don't know
I've been
when
waiting
he's
for that
telling
one all
the truth.
season.
I'm like a race car in the red right now. Okay, you don't want to push me.
Even Stevens was just like, all right, I can't stretch this that long. Come on, Pritchard, get back in there. Come on, Pritchard. You see what he just did? Go, let that motivate you. Get back in there.
Yeah. Oh, goodness gracious, no.
How about Aaron Nesmith? He still can't impact even on a night like this. Huh?
There may be nothing that makes me sadder than Aaron Nesmith's entire existence right now.
You went on a crusade early this year, John. We got to see what he's got. This guy.
We did,
and it worked. Yeah, almost.
We had to see what he's got, and the answer was nothing. He's got nothing.
Romeo
and they were pushing it so hard that at one point Brad was saying we might start Nesmith for floor spacing. We might close games with him, and now he's as far down the bench as you can get. Him and Carson.
I'm not going to give up on him just yet. I'm not happy with what
neither.
I've seen. I'm not happy at all. But I
No, you can't give up yet.
This season? Okay, all right.
Right.
Nobody can hear Sherrod, apparently.
Yeah. Apparently, no one can hear you. I don't know if it has to do
I
with
got Sherrod.
I got you.
We can hear him, but the people at home can't.
Oh, I can hear him.
Yeah, we can, but the people at home say they can't right now. How about now? Can we hear Sherrod?
I hear everyone.
That's too bad.
Oh, you're not asking me. Never mind.
Take my word for it. That
Can you hear
take that
me?
that take that he let out was worth hearing.
Yeah, why are you smiling, Jimmy? What you doing? What you doing over there?
Yo, I can hear you guys. It's the people in the YouTube comments that's saying they can't hear you. So
It's a
Don't
lot
you-
of
don't-
a lot of
don't-
people
don't shoot
saying
the messenger.
no on Sherrod. We're wondering if you accidentally if he was muted somehow, but it said it only went for like 2 minutes.
Well, he's back now.
Sure, y'all need to stay out of Brockton, man. Tell these dudes.
you can do. Anyone knows sign language? We can just sign language what Sherrod's saying to people from back home. Yeah.
I'm
I don't
sure
think
you
that's something
do.
nice. I don't think it's something nice.
Yeah, I got a couple.
People are now saying they can hear you. So my guess is that
No, they're playing
configuration when you put the person over on the far left is what's messing with us. That's my
They
thought.
must have tuned him out, but they're back in Sherrod. They can hear you now.
Far left.
Oh, that's why.
but not this year though.
I don't know. I
That's
think
the
they
part.
still
That's the
can't
fine
hear him,
print. You got to read the fine print. Not this year. Okay.
Still no Sherrod. Still no Sherrod. Sherrod, we're gonna have to boot you and come back because right now we are having audio issues.
It's Neesmith. He's got to talk about Tatum or something.
Yeah. So Sherrod, jump off and
Yeah, we
come
gotta
back, and we'll continue
gotta
on a
stop.
little bit. Yeah.
You guys stop polluting the airways with
the
this
system-
Neesmith talk.
This system's like, are we really hearing four
Even-
minute
exactly.
01 Neesmith talk?
Even the systems had it with Neesmith talk.
Oh,
Yeah.
there goes Brockton Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi 1G.
Hey.
We lost it.
1G.
Everyone's telling me to mute Bobby now.
That's
but
the
I'm
only
not
good
gonna
thing
do that.
about
That's mad funny.
losing
I'm not
people.
I was like,
Yeah,
I was like in my head, I'm like, oh, it does look like Brock. Wait, it does say Brockton. That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, we can't do that. We can't do that. All right,
Yo,
we'll
why does John have like the
You just,
hold
like,
on, real quick?
blow in
John
it or
got the
something?
HD. You got the HD
How's
camera,
that?
man. John's looking right. John's looking like
I got
he's gonna
the
take a
HD.
set. He's gonna hit the set somewhere.
Dude.
That someone's gonna yell.
You guys
He's
hear
gonna
me
yell
now?
action. He's gonna do
John
a scene
came
real quick.
prepared.
Can you guys
I
hear
got
me
you,
now?
John came
I
prepared
don't
for
think it
this.
matters.
Unlike
You still can't hear
I
me.
got you.
Yeah, they're messing with you, man.
I
don't
can
trust
hear
this shit.
Sherrod, but I don't know if
I'm about to hop on YouTube and test it out myself.
Yeah.
I think they got you.
We think we've got
I think
you.
they got
We
you
can
now,
hear
Sherrod.
him. Yes. We will
Okay.
continue
I was
on.
gonna say that sounds like a mad Celtics fan kind
I
of
will
thing to
not.
do.
I will
losing to
not
the
say
Chicago.
anything about a certain player from Vanderbilt. Keep it moving.
Apologies, but Sherrod was
Yeah, don't
saying
say-
something.
yeah, yeah.
Sherrod was saying something about Aaron Neesmith, and we want to give him his due. We heard it, but you guys didn't hear it. So by all means, Sherrod, go.
Nope, I'm not
No.
going to do it. Nope.
Yeah, no, we'll
Don't
continue
do
this
it.
conversation in this fall. Okay?
Nope, we're done.
Preseason. Stay tuned.
Aaron Neesmith next year, he'll be better. That's it. I'm not saying anything more about it.
Well, no, the one thing I did want to say, what Sherrod said, I was going to try to mime it for you guys. But what Sherrod did say,
Translate.
what Sherrod, so this is my only concern with Neesmith. And again, I wanted to see him because I thought it was better than the alternatives that they were trotting out there for a while. And then we did see it, and now I don't want to see him anymore. So I agree. Next year's probably I don't. It makes me sad. But
No, he
what
needs an
what
off season.
worries
And he
me-
needs Maine.
But what
Green
worries me the
Yeah.
most is what Sherrod said is, yes, he only played all of that stuff. He only played 11 college games is definitely something that you could say is why,
Right.
okay, maybe he's just lacking in experience. But also I fear that possibly the Celtics were duped by buying into.
Yeah, because he had a year before that wasn't as good.
It wasn't as good. So he comes out and he shoots 50% from three over an 11-game stretch, and everyone's like, wow,
That's the biggest reason.
He's the best shooter in the draft. And it's like, wait
right.
a second, that's a very small sample size. If he played 30 games last year, or whatever, might you have felt differently? And if you saw him over time, he might have been a second. He might have been a second-round pick. So I'm wondering if they jumped out. Yeah,
that would make a difference.
That's my fear, is that the sample size was so small that they really got duped by people are saying they can't freaking hear me now.
He's also the example of a guy who's just a little bit older, has one skill, not a ton of room for growth, seemingly. I mean, you can imagine him possibly finding a different role in the NBA or growing a little bit, but ultimately he wasn't seen as a raw talent who has all this room to grow. He still certainly could, but he was visioned being a guy who's going to impact right away, fit in. He filled a need on this roster, and that certainly could have been a view that was wrong. Perhaps he did need a bunch more development when it comes to dribbling, certainly, playmaking, getting to the rim, those kind of things. Defense certainly was an issue right away for him in this league. So there might actually just be too many things for him to work on in that sense. I'm concerned about him. I really am. We can do the young guy thing, but he is so ill-equipped right away, whereas we saw him being fully equipped to jump right in and contribute right away. That dichotomy there worries me a lot, because now all of a sudden we're going to reset ourselves and say he's a raw prospect who needs a lot of time in development.
That's what sucks about it.
Believe.
Right.
Well,
the idea
what are we still going to become?
Yeah, you act like the Celtics haven't been down this road before. I mean, Robert Williams, Romeo Langford.
Yeah, but Nesmith was supposed to be ready. Like the draw for him was he could come in and help you right away. And it's like that obviously couldn't have been further from the truth. Like he's a full year of G League away, and then who knows what. So, I mean, you have to hope next year he comes back something different.
I blame the draft experts. For him, because we're all repeating what we read and what we hear, and we're like, best shooter in the draft, ready to come in and contribute right away.
Who nailed the mock draft this year,
Jimmy? Like you said, John, he couldn't be less ready to contribute.
He
could be less ready.
That's a good point by Joe Sway.
When he's out there.
Yeah, I think I'm on a delay. Sorry, guys. No, I'm on a delay a bit. But no, I just said that who nailed the mock draft coming into this one? Like it was so hard to gauge because of COVID, because there was no NCAA tournament. Like that's where dreams come true, right? Whether it's your season ends in the Final Four, or whether you hit the final shot that's going to get you into the league, or that push, that huge performance for some guys is the make or break into the first round or the second round of the draft.
Few rookies have thrived this year either, so I think that's something people can take solace in. You're not looking around the league saying too many things about people who, they missed this guy, they missed that guy. We haven't really done that all year, frankly. There are plenty of guys who went ahead of Nesmith, so the Celtics certainly would have loved to have Halliburton. Patrick Williams on the Bulls has looked fantastic for most of this year. And then, of course, the top three in this draft ended up being great as expected. But you look after 14, there aren't a ton of guys there who you say, they could have had him over Nesmith. And in fact, the Celtics ended up hitting after that themselves. Sadiq Bey is probably that one guy. But again, he killed the Celtics. Overall, his season's been solid. So you can't really imagine him coming in here and blowing it up either, especially when he had a lot more competition.
I don't know that they missed.
No, Bobby. I think Celtics could use Solid right about now from Nesmith.
They could have.
Solid would go a long way from Nesmith in this team.
But what kills you is when you miss like something great. If you missed pretty good, that's not going to kill you. Like, so you whiffed a little bit. If you got a guy who was going to be 7, 8, 9 in your rotation, and that's it, and the ceiling might be low-level starter or sixth man, that's not killing you. You can find these guys other places. So I don't think Danny whiffed in the sense of there were so many other good players. Again, you're hoping for what at the 14 spot? Realistically, a guy who might be able to be a rotation player. That's really what you're getting there. And every once in a while, it pops off.
But the guys are out there that aren't. I mean, Rozier wasn't he 14? I mean,
but I'm saying those are outliers.
That position. I mean,
if you look at the majority of people,
who cares? You got to hit an outlier. I mean,
you got to hit.
But you got to go get a Giannis.
But that's why so to the point of where Bobby says, what do you need with these draft picks? In order to hit at 14, 15, 16, 17, you're probably going to hit 1 out of 5 of those. Realistically, it's hard to hit a bunch. So that's kind of why you need them, is one of those guys is going to be, and again, I know Halliburton was taking 12. One of those guys is going to be Halliburton or Rozier or something real. And the rest are going to be okay to possibly out of the league in a couple of years, because that's how those guys profile at that spot in the draft. You find stars from time to time. You find them in the freaking second round. I mean, you can find stars, but those are such outliers. Realistically, you're not mining for gold. So you've got to take a few swings at it. It sucks that he kind of missed 2 years in a row, but again,
the one guy you look at in the draft and say maybe they should have taken a swing on this guy considering what was available, and
Giannis.
Well, Bay would have been a 4 guy, but I watch
Alexis tonight.
I watch Alexis Pokusevski, John's guy, who he was mentioning going into this one, who was the great mystery in this draft. It just
only because I mistakenly thought he was Greek, and he's not. He just
because he played in Greece.
He just played in Greece. I didn't know anything about him.
He's the other Greek freak. But that's the same kind of thing here. When you look back on it, and this guy didn't.
I'm too loud.
This guy didn't have the physical pedigree of Giannis. But it's the same kind of idea there. Middle of the first round, you have a guy with great physical attributes, extremely young. He's still only 19 and change.
Oh, man. I was going to say, I do not remember you saying that. I was like, when did you call that?
No, he threw his name out there because, he thought he was great.
Like I said, I was like, ooh, Greece.
Okay, that makes sense.
You look at what he's doing with the Thunder this year, and Nesmith isn't playing anyway. Even if this guy sat on the bench all year long, you could have looked at it and said, all right, he's 19. You can give this guy 4 or 5 years, and he might end up being something way down the line here. It could have been like a investment for the Celtics way down the line.
I thought the Celtics didn't have patience for that, Bobby. Like, I think that's the thing. I thought that's the reason why they got a Nesmith, because they thought that off of his numbers in 2 years that he could produce right away. I don't think the Celtics wanted to sign up for a project. I mean, they essentially still have a couple of those, whether it's the one that's towards the tail end in Robert Williams, or whether it's the one that's just starting off in, I don't know, Romeo Langford or whatever the case may be. I don't think they wanted that. I think they wanted someone that they could plug in and produce right away.
Isn't that what they say, though? They say we draft the best talent. We draft the best available, the best prospect. And they said it even going into this draft, we're never drafting for need. That's not how you approach the NBA draft. And it feels like that's what they went out and did. Whether that was how they viewed Nesmith or not, that's how most people seemingly viewed Nesmith. He was something that filled a need that they had right now. And what's more frustrating about that is the only reason they had that need was because of mistakes that they had made coming into the year, whether it be that 2019 draft, letting Hayward go, or some of this other stuff. So you don't want to go into a draft, especially where they are as a team, and say, we're going to pick a guy who's going to contribute right away and help us out. Because you can never count on a rookie to do that, no less at 14.
Well, you don't go out and say that, Bobby. I just think it's more of it was the two sort of went hand in hand in this draft. There was a whole lot of wings, a lot of 3-and-D guys, or a lot of shooters, and he was projected to be the best one. He was way outside the top 10, so it seemed ideal. But of course, Sadiq Bey was also option B. Like, those two are at the top of the list, and clearly, the Celtics they made a decision and thinking that this is the better guy. Still way too early, obviously, but it's easy to.
It is, yeah. And we were excited about Nesmith. I think all of us looked at the thinking there and said, all right, this is a pretty good idea based on what they do need. So I don't want to go too much revisionist history in there on how we felt about it. So I think we just kind of do have to give it time here and see what happens, because they've been able to do stuff in spite of it. So it hasn't killed them. And like we said, there aren't a ton of guys you look at that came after him that they're kicking themselves about. That could still happen in time. Pokusevski might be the next Giannis, and we go, Nesmith, like we did Olenek. But we're not there yet. We're not even close, frankly. Pokusevski has not played well for the Thunder this year.
Yeah.
Well, the Celtics also didn't trade up.
Mr. Pixel is talking right now. Sherrod, there he is. He's back. Okay, good.
Yeah, he was in and out for a little bit.
You were all jacked up for a little bit there, buddy.
I know it's Jimmy's fault. It's always Jimmy's fault.
As soon as he mentioned it, everything went up.
One of the comments says disgruntled BU students are attacking your computer.
Grades are still due, but that's another story.
That's not a way. Right. You do that after you get the grade, not before.
Exactly. Not before.
Okay.
No,
the
thing about Naismith is that when you look at the guys taken after him, Sadiq Bey is the only one that you really feel like, damn, They missed out on him.
Yeah.
Later in the draft, you got Desmond Bane, who's done some really good things. He was taken at the end of the first round, but Sadiq Bey is the only one that, in hindsight, you would probably take if you could do it all over again. I'm still not ready to give up on Naismith. I think he's going to be a decent player. It's just going to take him a little time.
I don't disagree.
I agree.
But
I've said it a bunch of times.
We made it.
I think
For
he just
once.
needs another year. He needs an off season. He needs Maine next year. This is the hardest year to be an NBA rookie. The hardest probably in the history of the freaking game. So, and it was just like
here's
a
my
lot of these
Naismith
guys,
thing.
you can just tell who was ready, who wasn't.
Well, here's my thing. Just one thing with Naismith is you don't expect consistently good performances over with somebody who's had this few reps and so little time to get ready for what NBA is about. But on occasion, you would like to see him look like a professional basketball player.
Flashes.
And he hasn't had enough flashes. That's the thing is, sure, a couple times he's knocked down a shot, but most of the time everything looks sloppy and out of place, and he just looks off. He just looks lost. And that's what worries me is like he looks like he doesn't belong most of the time. You would like to see like, okay, that was a rookie mistake. He'll do better on that next time. But he just looks out of sorts almost all the time. Like it's like the moment's just too big for him. Like really overwhelmed by it all. So, like I said, is you'd like to see one move where he just does something really nifty, breaks a guy down, crosses over. And I know that's not his game, pulls up, knocks it down. It was like, that was good, but he just doesn't have any of those. I like I said, look at how much leeway we give Romeo. We just need to see a flash or two and be like, good. If there's more of that, we'll be good. But it's obviously not happening consistently enough, but he had a great little drive today and he goes and he elevates and he adjusts in the air and he lays it in and you're like, oh, I'd love to see more of that, because that seems like something that's in his bag. I'm not seeing any flashes from Naismith. So that's my main concern.
Who did you like in this draft, Sherrod?
In this most recent draft?
Yeah, where they were picking.
Well, I thought they were going to take. I thought they were going to take Naismith. That's why I had in most of my mock drafts. I also like Isaiah Stewart. That's another guy that I liked if they were going to go that route. Because at the time, they didn't. I thought they may want to add a little bit more oomph in the front court, another banger, or a shooter. And so those are the two guys that I really liked for them at where they picked.
I have
and
them
Sadiq
taking
Bey and Sadiq. I thought it was a kind of flip a coin between Sadiq and Naismith. And Isaiah Stewart. So those three guys.
I had them taking R.J. Hampton, who obviously ended up getting dealt for Gordon in the end, which says something there. And then I had Stewart as well later in the round where they ended up picking Pritchard. And he's looked good in Detroit. He has. He's been a bruiser on the offensive boards. Nice physicality there. Pretty much what Thompson's doing. So they didn't really need it in the end, I guess. But he's looked.
Although he's a little cheaper than Thompson.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and that's ultimately what you want to have at that big man position, frankly, is as cheap as possible for that kind of production. But Hampton's still a guy I still dream about him and what his potential is and the high school flashes that he showed athletically, his ability to get on the ball and make plays going downhill. He hasn't shown anything at the NBA level, but that's another guy who's young, so early in his development. This probably would have been the draft to go after one of those guys, just considering what was going on here with this season and how you're going to be integrating these guys. Opt for some potential down the line. It looks like that would have been the best bet for them. And now Orlando gets to ride this Hampton wave, which I still think is going to be a good one out of this draft here. But flat out, we look up and down this draft, and this is what people said going in. It wasn't very good. So not too many teams came out of this draft with a great prospect that they're thrilled about, even the ones who did a little better than some of the others. Just that top three. This was essentially a three-person draft, and that's what it played out to.
Yeah, real quick, I do want to mention people. We are going to head over shortly. Locker room, once again, we're going to jump on there. We're going to chat with you guys for a few minutes. Again, come in, hang out with us, flood us with whatever questions you have on this game and anything Celtics related. Once again, go to the iOS store, download the Locker Room app, and just jump in. join the chat, request to speak. We'll hang out with you guys. We've had a bunch of people coming in there. So again, we have a ton of you commenting here on the stream. We'd love to hear from you guys in locker room as well. So Sherrod and I will be heading over there shortly. We're going to open up a link right now and put it in the chat. So if you guys want to come over and hang with us, great. We know Nick's Rage and everybody out there. We still don't have it for Android, but the goal ultimately is to get it there. So again, we'll be heading over there in a little bit.
I'm gonna say it for what it's worth, because I don't think we've even mentioned it on the show this year. But Yam Madar does exist. He's in Israel. He is a Boston Celtic. Maybe that'll happen one day, but that's all we got for now. We just know he's a Boston Celtic. So there you go. For everyone freaking out about him in the chat.
People were freaking out about him.
People have been talking about him all year.
That's a name I haven't thought about in a while.
No, not since draft night, for a good reason. He's not here.
Josue, tell us what just happened to you.
Was there a rat? Sign language.
I can't hear.
He's not
It's
talking.
a big rat.
Okay.
No, he's talking, but we can't hear
He's
him.
signing. We can't hear him. The rat knocked out his microphone again. Anyway,
Yes,
yeah.
I think he's yeah.
Yeah, that's what happened. Josue got chased by a rat. He's okay, but is anyone wondering?
Ate through the wires.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll get his audio back shortly as well. So we've got, what do we got Thursday night? We got Phoenix coming in on Thursday, and
that's
then
gonna be fun. Rest.
Yeah, so that's amazing, right? When was the last time they had 3 days off?
Free
At least
break,
a month.
certainly.
All-Star break.
Well, they're gonna have 2 days. They're gonna have 2 days off. Tuesday, Wednesday.
Right. I mean, 3 days between games.
Today's
right.
Monday.
Yeah.
Right.
That's pretty rare. They don't get that very often. Right?
Great, and they're gonna need it because the Suns are playing like one of the best teams in the NBA right now. We talked about Chris Paul actually on Locker Room. Was it Saturday night for a little bit because there was I don't even know how that topic came up about Chris Paul, but he comes into town and that'll be a fun one. I've always been a huge Devin Booker guy. I watched him drop 70 in Boston a few years ago. That was fun.
And Kyrie got mad.
And,
No, Jay Crowder got mad.
yeah, the whole Celtics. Jay Crowder got mad, and now Jay Crowder's throwing him the ball, right? Or he was.
Exactly.
They were teammates.
That happened a couple different times to Jay.
So, yeah, seriously. Yeah, he's been around. But, man, the Suns are a lot of fun. I mean, Chris Paul has done a lot for them, and I think he's really opened things up for guys like Booker and just that they're just a fun little team to watch out in the West, surprising everybody.
Yeah, they're more than fun. They're really good. They're right up there with Utah all season long for that best record in the NBA. They score like crazy. They got awesome wing depth. They destroyed the Celtics, frankly, last time they played. C's were a little shorthanded in that one as well. We all remember Carson Edwards started that one when one of Stevens' not-so-finer moves of the season. I think that was Super Bowl Sunday, right? Yeah, we went on before the Super Bowl, and we started debating Bill Russell versus Tom Brady somehow.
Oh, God.
Don't bring that up again.
That was a Nick show.
That's got Nick written all over.
Yeah. Josue's a little soft. Josue, speak up a little bit. You're coming in a little muted.
How about now? Is that better?
Yeah, go for it.
I was just gonna say, man, how about Chris Paul being like the NBA makeover guy for organizations, whether it was with the Thunder, now with the Suns. Wait, is it really that bad? Damn it.
Incredible.
It's one of those things that that veteran leadership, that's someone that you put him in the locker room, you can have everyone's attention. But of course, everyone's got to be on the same page, and that's been the case for a lot of those Phoenix Suns teams. It was just having them develop. Whether it was guys like Marquise Chris or they didn't know which ones were their ones. Dragon Bender, but now they have the pieces. It was in place perfectly for Chris Paul to come in.
And
you got to give a lot of credit. You got to give a lot of credit to their growth to James Jones, their GM, for actually having the cojones to go out and get Chris Paul. To get a guy at that point in his career, you had to give up a lot of assets. And I'm working on a piece for Bleacher Report, actually, about the Suns. And I actually talked to James Jones not too long ago about just the process of getting Chris Paul. And one of the things that people forget about with the Suns and how amazing they are this year, they ran the tables in the bubble. I mean, it's not like this team didn't have anything to work with.
They were the story of the bubble, and they just
exactly. So in ways, Chris Paul has basically he's given a little extra juice to a team that was already feeling good about itself. So we shouldn't be too shocked that they play so well.
Good point. They were hot.
You know what else too? And I think John, you brought this up. About the bubble and all the players being there. I mean, obviously you take notice. You don't have a whole lot of downtime you have too much downtime, I should say. And you're watching these games, and you're like, well, wait a minute, like this team's got something there. And of course they're having conversations. People probably must have gotten to know Devin Booker. I mean, I don't want to say that they're out there recruiting, but they didn't really have to. They just did it off their play alone.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And again, apologies, obviously, with a couple technical issues tonight. We're trying out a new stream technology here. So we should have kinks worked out. We've got 2 days. 2 days to work out kinks here. I'm going to head over to locker room now. Sherrod's going to head over as well. Josue, you got to speak way up, man, or you got to get closer to the source of your audio because we cannot.
Or just turn the volume up a little.
Or turn your volume. We cannot hear you at all, buddy. So we're heading to locker room now. So come join us. Let Bobby, Jimmy, and Josue take it home. Guys, don't linger too long. Come join us in a few minutes. We're going to hang out there. Hopefully Josue's audio cleans it up here. But again, Thursday, we promise we'll
that graphic will always be funny.
We'll clean up some of the kinks.
At least we got that out tonight.
Yeah, we'll see you guys in a bit.
All right, John, we'll see you in a few minutes.
See you, buddy. Yeah.
All right. So if you guys are still hanging with us, we're going to work through these like connection issues that I think we've had. I've been just checking out the chat. Everyone's like basically saying half the time if they can hear us.
This was quite a debut, huh?
Send us some questions that we'll take. We'll try to answer a few questions here before we wrap it up, and then anything we don't get to, we'll get to them over in the locker room, and we'll hang out. We usually hang out there for a good half hour to an hour.
Yeah. People want Madar to talk bad. I can't lie. I haven't dove into the tape like I should on Madar, but I've heard good things. I've heard he's gotten better. And in fact, I think he was trying to push out of his team at one point to either get to a better team or come back to the NBA early. But the Celtics haven't had roster spot throughout this season. Plus, usually guys that get stashed end up staying overseas for the full year. Normally, they're not integrated in midway through the season. So that's something that isn't happening this year. But I have heard good things about him.
Dude, I literally couldn't tell you one thing about Madar, so we're gonna move right off this topic right now.
So was there a rat joke?
And honestly, not even worth he's not even worth talking about.
There was a real rat at TD Garden run by Josue. Approximate size?
Josue. Yo, Josue,
there you go. The screen's not wide enough.
Bobby, can you hear Josue?
No, I can't. He's just signing stuff to us, so that's how he's going to have to finish out the show. We won't stay here too long. Let me just say, Josue, why don't you bomb out, head over to him? You might have better luck over there, because I don't think any of us can hear you anyway, so we'll say peace to you. But Daniel Theis tonight, Jimmy. How did that happen? I'm stunned at freaking players of the past, and that's why. But yeah, Theis deserves a shine. Why don't you? They actually for sure won 5 times in this one, but overall, I thought he was solid throwing his old tricks at the Celtics too. His 3-point shot wasn't there tonight, but that's how the Bulls have to feel. Like we have Vucevic. Yeah, and for one of those first couple guys off the bench. What's that? Do you miss him? We both think that he's going to make, a solid amount of money. 16. Yeah, that to me would be great. He's not going to out his, but hit the outside shot. I mean, I'm interested in the team, and they're going to have to pay Markkanen 9 times and be like, they sign him to a second half year. Vucevic keeping Theis at $16 million. I think there's a rule that provides they want to pay to keep around here. So he'll get a pay bump here, but that he's gone.